And welcome back to This Week. Time now to get the views of our panel of media and political experts. Bob Tuke, former chairman of the state Democratic Party. John Rodgers, Capitol Hill reporter for the Nashville City paper. And News 2's contributing political analyst Steve Gill, just back from Iowa and New Hampshire. Big wins for John McCain. A little warmer down here. Big wins for John McCain and Hillary Clinton. Big comebacks. This really throws this race wide open. It's not even close to being over. We got a horse race on our hands.
You know, it's hard to decide whether people are more excited about the fact that their candidates may have won or done well, or that simply the pollsters and the pundits were confounded. I think everybody loves the fact the media was so wrong about it. But I was with Terry McAuliffe, who is Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman, Ann Lewis, who's one of her campaign leaders, the day of the primary in New Hampshire. They were girding for how big the loss would be. Their internal polling was showing them either losing by double digits. They were hoping for single digits. They were talking about how do we slow the momentum, not how we stop the momentum. They didn't see it coming. Nobody saw it coming.
And it's, you know, the truth of the matter is, like we were talking before we went on the air, this is better for America. It's also, I think, better for the Democratic Party. Both the leading candidates will be better candidates as a result of this. I can tell you that the Obama campaign is really just kicked into a higher gear, just as I think Clinton's campaign kicked into higher gear just at the right time in New Hampshire. But in our headquarters here in Nashville, we are really busy. We're busy. The Obama campaign is busy in all of the February 5th states, and so it's better for the American people. It's better for our campaign, better for the Democratic Party, and I think the same thing's true of the Republicans.
It's a new ball game, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And it's interesting, we were talking once again before we went on the air that the Washington Post reported that the Clinton campaign didn't even have a victory speech drafted before they went, and they just and all the polls were wrong, and they came out with a victory, which I believe gives them some kind of shot in South Carolina. I think if they would have lost in New Hampshire, they would have had a lot of trouble.
There's been all kinds of speculation why the polls were wrong. You were up there when the results were coming in. What were people saying? Why did they believe they were so off?
I think the polls may actually have been accurate, although I hate to defend pollsters.
I think
two things shifted. The Hillary Clinton weepy moment, although I think that was real. I think these people are exhausted. I think there's a stress level in this thing, particularly as close as the primaries are scheduled, that I think it was a sincere moment, although she quickly turned it into an attack on Barack Obama.
She is a politician.
I think that moved things. I think the iron my shirt junk that happened with these shock radio jocks holding up a sign at a rally helped galvanize women. Women came to Hillary Clinton's side in the last 24 hours. In Iowa, Barack Obama carried women in every gender, every age group. In New Hampshire, she carried them all along the way. And I think the other thing is that all the polling about how Barack Obama had the momentum and a big lead, New Hampshire voters tend to be very strategic. They thought he was going to win without them. A lot of those independents who could choose on Election Day which primary to vote in came over and voted for John McCain in the Republican primary. It cost Mitt Romney a win there, also cost Barack Obama his win.
I think the polls are right. I think they were. I think
the polls reflected the uptick that Barack Obama got from Iowa, and they weren't supposed to talk about what Steve just talked about. New Hampshire voters are strategic voters, and that's one of the good things about this primary system. People complain about New Hampshire and Iowa. The truth is that kind of retail campaigning is really good for America, and what happened is, I think, and the internal polling in the Obama campaign says it's true, just what Steve said. Undeclareds decided that they were going to go over and vote in the Republican primary because they wanted to make a statement in that primary, and the statement was against Romney. They thought Obama had it. And so I think the polls were probably right when they were taken. The result is what it was.
I think it'll back the media off a little bit. I was watching MSNBC. You could tell on their faces they had a dance on your grave Hillary campaign coverage ready to go, and when she won, you could see that they were totally unprepared and totally surprised for it.
Well, the other thing to keep in mind about polling is that it tends to be about 24 to 48 hours out of date. I mean, what you're getting is a snapshot, but it tends to lag by a little bit of time. So I think, like Bob said, you had that surge for Barack Obama. It had probably peaked and started to drop down just before the final 24 hours of the campaign. So that's part of the factor. But you're right. The media that night refused to call it, even though it was apparent that Hillary was going to pull it out, because they couldn't believe the numbers.
It was interesting to watch.
Waiting for Hanover. We'll wait for Hanover.
And don't forget about John McCain, someone who was left for dead, as little as a few months ago, and has a big win for him. Flashback to 2000, where he won again there. Now, and of course, in 2000, South Carolina was his undoing. We'll see what happens here in a couple weeks.
Who does this help more, John McCain or Hillary Clinton? Hillary has the money. John McCain's still weak on money. Does this help him enough to raise the money to keep in the race?
I personally think it helps both of them immensely, but Hillary a little bit more, in my opinion.
John McCain's out of money, but you got Rudy Giuliani, who's had to stop paying his senior campaign staff. Even Mitt Romney, who you think has unlimited funds, is a little bit short on funds. The Thompson campaign, Huckabee is a little short on cash. I think on both sides of the aisle, everybody's starting to run low on cash. You're not just going to have anybody go in and try to buy Super Tuesday, which means the grassroots efforts, who wins, and the order they finish becomes more important than ever.
For our campaign, for the Obama campaign, it's really been an uptick, like I said before. We are so busy in our headquarters, and I have to tell you, I can't imagine what the Clinton campaign's doing. We can't find any evidence of them here in Tennessee, and we're swamped with volunteers, people phone banking, people canvassing. Our headquarters is completely active like it was a general campaign, general election campaign. So, you know, sometimes you have to have a little setback. You know, sometimes it's a good thing to have the other team score in the second quarter, so you come out in the second half stronger.
Fred Thompson was not a blip in New Hampshire. He knew he wouldn't be. He's in South Carolina, betting his campaign on South Carolina. In the debates just this week, focus group afterwards said he clearly won. This was a whole different Fred Thompson. Is there enough time for him to turn this around, and is it really Fred Thompson versus Mike Huckabee in South Carolina?
The Thursday night debate was huge for Fred, and it really does give him a great opportunity in South Carolina. Keep in mind, it's the coverage in South Carolina that matters more than the national media, and they've covered it as a Fred win in the last couple of days. The thing that Fred needs is either a win in South Carolina or a close second with McCain winning. If Mike Huckabee wins in South Carolina, I think it's over for Fred.
Did you see the debate?
And again, though, it's better for America, I think, and even though it makes it tougher for my party, it's better for this country if people like Fred Thompson stay in the race, are able to stay in the race by having a strategic win or second place. These candidates need to have time to campaign against one another. In a way, not in a way, it's definitely too bad that by February the 5th it's probably going to get decided. It would be better for our country if it's extended itself.
I think the attitude amongst a lot of Thompson supporters is where has this been? You know, from his performance last night, and he really went after Huckabee and laid it out in a way. It was clearly scripted from Thompson's part, but laid it out in a way that was clear and concise. He didn't ramble. I thought it was one of his better performances of the campaign, and we'll see how well it translates.
Just a few seconds left. If he doesn't win, will he take a vice presidential ask? Will he be on a ticket?
I think depending on who asks. You don't say no to a vice presidential spot, and there are a lot of people, I think, angling on the Democratic side for that spot already as well.
Think he'd accept?
I think it's possible, but we have absolutely no intention of thinking about it.
See how the voters do in South Carolina.
The better McCain does, the better chance Thompson has.
John Rodgers, Steve Gill, Bob Tuke, appreciate your insight. Stay with us. This week continues in a moment.